This is a Film Stories original podcast.
Welcome to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. I'm your host today, Russ Hugo, and very happy to be joined today by actor, producer, and educator Kirk Woller. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Russ. It's great and honor to be here. It's funny, X-Files, a lot of people have seen me from the X-Files, so it's really great to talk about it a little bit. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. It's been a long time, and you've done a lot of work. We're very grateful for your time and expertise and look forward to getting to this conversation. It would be great to start off with talking about just your background in acting. And I noticed that prior to your Master's in Fine Arts in acting, you studied business, but you were doing acting and also some producing at that time. Can you talk about your work with acting prior to that? Like your origin, what inspired you, maybe your childhood, and how you came to be in the profession you are now?
Great question. I'm from Seattle, born and raised there, moved out. I think I was maybe 8 years old, but 8 or 9. But is when I was 8 years old that Mrs. Chase, I still remember her name, my third grade teacher, they did a classroom play, and I have no idea why, I promise you, but she decided to make me the lead of that play. And so I memorized the lines, which surprised me that I could remember all those lines. And we did the class play, and I got so into it. And you know those little like 3-ring binders? It's like a little metal circle that you can click back together.
Yes.
We were doing it, and there was another character who was talking about letting the anchor down or something. And I just saw those things, and I picked them up, and I started making anchor sound noises, like it was a chain. I really got into it, and I guess the fellow classmates came up and said, "Hey, yeah, man, you're really good." So it was the first time I think in life where somebody other than mom and dad said, "Well done," and that stuck with me, of course. And from that moment forward, I wanted to be an actor. And then shortly thereafter, my parents took us to Universal Studios Hollywood, and that, of course, sealed the deal for me to go on the studio, to go on the lot, to see the stuntman show, and to be a part of all that. It really made it tangible. But then I lost it until I was basically 23, 24. As you had mentioned earlier, I went to Cal State University Hayward. It's now called Cal State East Bay. My undergrad degree is in business and marketing, and I was the class president of my business school. Won all these service awards and, fast track. I had a job offer from Clorox to basically sell bleach out of college. And I just decided, nope, I'm going to go do what I've always wanted to do, and that is work as an actor. So I moved back to Seattle, started there, worked my way up there, taking dance classes, taking acting classes, ended up at North Seattle Community College. A woman named Diane Hostetler said, "You got to audition for the URDAs." I said, "What's that?" She said, "The Urban League of Resident Theater Association." So I went, drove from Washington all the way down to Long Beach, auditioned. You're in a hotel room, all legitimate. It's like Yale and Juilliard and FSU and Rutgers. And you just do have a comedic monologue and a dramatic monologue. I just went room to room. Most programs only accept 12 people a year, 7 men and 5 women. And I got 2 offers, believe it or not, from Rutgers in New York and the FSU Oslo Conservatory for Professional Actor Training in Florida. So I took that because they had angels rich people in the community that would pay for you to have a humble little apartment. So for 2 years, I did that. And then I don't know if you know this name, but Sanford Meisner. He's Sanford Meisner is one of the best acting teachers in probably the last 100 years. I was able to train with him after graduate school. So I had a master's, undergraduate in business, a master's in theater. And then I trained with Sanford Meisner here in Los Angeles for a month-long intensive, and then he invited me to stay longer. So I was with him for 5 years up until his death. We created the Sanford Meisner Center for the Arts. We were constantly doing theater. And it was there that I got my first agent, and I just slowly started working as an actor and slowly started making my living as an actor and have ever since. So I was classically trained, and I've worked my butt off to have a really good technique. It's not accidental, but just hard work, you know? So that's kind of the how I got into acting story.
That's great. Did you ever reconnect with your third grade teacher?
I never did. I think I did look her up once, but she had since passed away. I know. I missed the boat on that, unfortunately. Yeah, she had passed away, I think, by the time I started, because when I moved back to Seattle after graduating undergrad, she had passed away already. So I was just sort of beginning my journey, I guess.
Still, it's a great example of I hate the old trope, but it's a real one, that the impact of good educators.
Unbelievable. Yes. And she was great. She was always my favorite teacher anyway. I mean, to this day, I still remember her. She was just phenomenal and very lovely and very supportive. But yeah, educators, wow. I mean, you and I both know that somebody that knows what they're talking about, has goodness in their heart, and sees things, yeah, that steers the youth in the right direction, you know? It's all cliche, but it's so true.
And speaking of educators and how you got involved with Meisner and then worked on building that training system, and then you now have your own program or school that's become really successful. It sounds like you also have a passion for education in that way and profession. You're very busy acting, but you somehow find time to do this. So there must be a passion. And how did that come about that you wanted to continue doing something?
Yeah, that's a cool question as well. I first of all, I never thought I would do it because I was always taught those that can't teach, and those that can't teach, they administrate. So I never thought, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but that was always sort of the philosophy that I was told. But yeah, I guess it was 4 years ago. This is pre-COVID. You know, I was just thinking to myself, what did Jeff Bezos do at Amazon? He mastered fulfillment. There's always been people making stuff, always been making people buying stuff. His genius was fulfillment, getting it to my door in 2 days. That's what he did. And it's why they're so powerful. Uber, same thing. People need a ride at the airport. People can give you a ride. He just made an app to hook you up. And so my idea that I had with the business acumen, I suppose, is I'm going to take all these wonderful working actors like myself, who has 20, 30 years of experience, who are made. You don't work every day as an actor. That's just the reality. And I'm going to build a platform, and I'm going to hook up those working actors with people all over the world and have online acting classes. Nobody was doing this in 2019. Nobody. I thought I had this cool revolutionary idea. So I opened the doors in 2020, and then 2 months later, COVID hit, and every acting teacher on planet Earth was now teaching online. So my innovative idea just went right out the window. Anyway, I was originally, some people were interested. I was trying to hook them up with somebody else, and they said, no, we want to train with you. I didn't know if I could do that because I had never sat down and wrote out a curriculum. What exactly do I do? You learn as you go, and you develop based on very powerful mentors that you have. Basically, you adapt your own technique. But I went for it, and I've never turned back. I've been doing it like 4 years now, and I do love it. I'm crystal clear on what I do as an actor, and I'm really crystal clear as a result of doing it so much, passing along that technique to others. And it's very rewarding. My students are working, which is awesome. And it's so important, you know, acting is really egoless, and it's very selfless, contrary to popular belief. It's not about me, me, me. It's really about you. If we're working in a scene, I put all of my attention on you. You basically tell me how to say my line based on how you said your line. If you live in the moment and you're present. So I really want to help have good actors out there in the world as much as I possibly can, instead of divas and pains in the butts and people that are very selfish and self-centered. I don't like that. Personally, as an actor, I never have, and have I seen that on sets in my career. But yeah, so it's great to be able to give back. And yeah, If I can give a shameless plug, it's Actor Class, Actor, and then class with a K. So Actor, like you would spell it, and class with a K.com. Actorclass.com. K, homage to my German heritage, Klasse. And there's also another website, thewallertechnique.com. So anyway, I teach one-on-one, two-on-one, and then once a month I have a guest mentor come in, and I have actors and directors and producers and writers and first ADs and second ADs come in. I interview them for an hour and then open it up to the group, and people ask questions. It's a whopping $15. It's nothing, but it's a nice way to give back a little bit. And again, it's the idea of, the mentor who's working, making a living at it, and the person who wants to. Like, if you want to make a living, go to the source. So thanks for asking that question. But I do love it. So yeah, I now teach 2 to 3 people, actors every day, 5 days a week, and still work as an actor. And I'm so blessed. It's a great life, man.
Yeah, sounds like a great program. And check it out. It sounds like your students are involved with a lot of really interesting projects. I can imagine it's got to be really fulfilling to be in that mentorship role and work at this level. And looks like you even do some production support work too for some of your students, it sounds like.
The producing I've done has been primarily in short film, a couple of films years ago. This was like 2018 when the economy tanked. Produced, like, I think it was 40 short horror films, believe it or not. And one I wrote and direct, Wes Craven, of all people, decided was one of his top 10 favorite YouTube horror shorts. And it was a group called Fewdio, Fewdio. I bet you if you look it up, you can still find them. But that's primarily the producing that I've done. But no, I'm not technically a producer and not helping my students in that capacity. I just help them become the best actor they can be, help with auditions, and they book jobs. And I just had a student that booked the lead of a Hallmark type film, and I help prepare them for that, that sort of thing.
That's great. Is there a place, I mean, you sort of answered this, but I was actually looking for some of those short films.
Type in Fewdio, Fewdio.
All right, excellent.
F.
Oh, is this, okay, great. And so this was the one on YouTube here. Bedfellows, Fewdio.com. Excellent. So they're all here. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're all online. Mine was called, we actually created a DVD anthology there for a while. So it was pretty good buzz. We went to Comic-Con with it. The guys at Comic-Con invited us to go down there. And then the band kind of broke apart, if you will. But mine was called Breach, and it's horribly simple, but he dug it. Wes Craven did. But yeah, if you look.
It's there. Excellent. Yes. Okay. Because the website itself has been taken down, but on the YouTube, just to tell listeners, and I'll be watching these tonight. So they're on there. And if you do search for Breach, so the channel name for folks, it's Fewdio.com. And all spelled out, not with an actual dot. That's the account on YouTube. And then you can search for Breach, and it's listed there. And yeah, I can't wait to check this out.
It's very, very simple, but whatever. That's really the extent of my sort of directing, writing, if it was even writing. It was just a simple idea. But it was fun to shoot it. I learned a lot about so many things doing that, and certainly about producing. And it's really helped me as an actor, I think, too, to have that perspective.
And on that, I don't mean to mind things in too much detail, but in your bio, it mentioned when you were at Cal State East Bay, you created and then started a popular radio and TV program.
Question. Thank you for asking. Yeah, what I left out of that story, because I was too long-winded as it was, is that my senior year, I just started, because I have an undergrad degree is business marketing. That was my specialty. We were making commercials and advertising for local businesses. And I was just really getting into it. So it rekindled what I'd always loved. So I went to San Francisco and took John Casablanca Elite's commercial acting workshop thing. So I went from Hayward and drove in a couple of weekends and took this commercial acting workshop. Then I auditioned for a theater, for a play at the theater at the university. And then I got cast, and then I couldn't do it. And then the director, he was furious at me. But anyway, what I did do was create, it was like a It was called Cal State Business Magazine. It was like an Entertainment Tonight thing. And I was just interviewing. It's just a show, and it formatted it because we were editing so many videos. I got to know the editor there in the business school, and I just saw it. Yeah, it was like the Entertainment Tonight kind of thing, interviewing students and teachers and other educators. And then before that, it was a radio show doing the same thing. So I was being creative anyway. And then I guess all of that just made me go, I gotta pursue this. So yeah, that's what those things were. Not like it was a scripted show. It was just more interview type stuff.
But it's still fascinating to think about how that was in the back, in your spirit, this interest, and how you're able to find ways to connect. You're studying business and marketing, but you're still mixed with the arts. And then now with your arts, you've taken the business and marketing acumen and the educational acumen in there. And the fact that you had that big gap of doing acting, and then you're still be able to get that successful casting there in San Francisco. It says something.
My original dream was first to be like a bodybuilder. I read this is Franco Colombo and Lou Ferrigno. It was a book. And then I got really into football and athletics. I wanted to be a pro football player, honestly. Many of my friends went on to play pro football, actually. So that was my original dream. Yeah, I used to weigh, I don't say this often, but I used to weigh 280 pounds. And I'm like a buck 50, 155. But I slowly but surely just lost all the weight. But yeah, that was my original dream. So I think I got caught up in athletics and other things and maybe parents' wishes. But it came back and it started slapping me in the face.
That's fascinating. Yeah. That's a big deviation than a lot of things, but that's a lot of fun. Cut to the X-Files and your time in there. It's an interesting moment when you join the X-Files. When season 8 comes in, it reinvigorates the aesthetic. We've got new cast members at a moment where it's a very established show, but the shakeup, and there's tensions in the fandom and things like this. And you coming in a role that's not necessarily antagonistic in a negative sense, and I might be the best person to describe how that would be. But I'm curious what your experience was. And I know this is a broad question. You can answer any way that you feel comfortable. But what was it like jumping into something like that and having, I think, a very impactful role working with both established and then some new characters in this new setup? Yeah.
So I got to go back to the fact that where you and I are from. I'm from the Seattle area. I had been an X-Files fan myself. I just love that show. I think when you were, not that it rains all the time in Seattle, a lot of overcast skies. I think you spend a lot of time daydreaming and all the things that the X-Files sort of tackled, from UFOs to phenomenon to, I loved it. And so I watched the show a lot. And I loved the interaction between Mulder and Scully, like everyone else, I suppose. I just dug it. I don't know, checked all my boxes. Cut to me living in Los Angeles, and after all those things I sort of told you, and auditioning and starting to make a living as an actor. And I remember I had long hair and a goatee. I was playing nothing but sort of like bad guys. Okay. And then I just decided it's time to cut the hair. So I cut the hair. I had a little ceremony, burned it. A little rite of passage, I suppose. And it was shortly thereafter that I got the audition for the X-Files to be an FBI agent. So I had never played an FBI agent. It was all bad guy stuff. But here's something I think those out there might dig. So Kim Manners, director, executive producer, was the director of those first 2 episodes. And one of my first jobs in the business, I was hired by Kim Manners for a show called Briscoe County Jr. And I played villain number 2. And that's where I met Kim. And we had a great connection. I really liked working with him. Like, that was a big deal for me to get cast in that show, because that was sort of the first network, one of the first, maybe the second or the first network show I'd ever done. So that was like a huge deal. Like, oh, okay, maybe I can make a living at this, And so it was a big deal to me. So I don't know how many years later, let's call it 7, 8 years later, there I am auditioning for an FBI agent. Short hair. When I met him, it was long. And so I went in, I worked really, really hard, and I'll never forget. I was in the parking lot, Fox lot, and I just talked to myself and I said, you're going to go get this. You're going to go get this role. I didn't know Kim was a director, but I said, you're going to go in and you've worked hard and you've earned the right to be here. So I went in with that mentality, and all these wonderful actors were in the room. I just let it go, auditioning as well, and went in and auditioned. And I just remember Kim's face; it just kind of dropped. He liked it so much, and then he kept on looking at me and he goes, do we know each other? And then I recognized him. I said, yeah, we did Briscoe County Junior. And I want to thank you because that was where I got my start. And then it was just like a really nice kinship. And praise the Lord, I got hired to do that. And it was supposed to be 2 episodes. And then what happened is, I guess I was liked enough by the writers and by everyone else, and Kim as well, that they invited me back. I think I ended up doing 5. The first 2, what was it, Within and Without, and then there was one in the middle, and then Via Negativa, and forgive me, guys, I'm forgetting all the names now. It's been a long time. But yeah, it was supposed to be 2 episodes, but it was when Robert Patrick came along. So it was such a big deal for me. Now I'm on set with the Terminator and a whole host of other amazing actors, like including Skinner, and I'm interviewing him. It was surreal for me to be there and to be working with these vets. And I remember, what is his name? James Picken Jr. Is that right? I remember he turned to me when we did the rehearsal, and he looked at me and just was staring at me a second, and he goes, "This is a big turn for you." And I said, "What do you mean a big turn?" He goes, "This is gonna change things for you," he said, in terms of my career, I suppose. I said, "Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm honored and blessed to be here." Everyone was so nice. I loved it. I just loved the whole thing. Robert and I connected very quickly. I knocked on his trailer door. I was like, "Hey, man, hey, I'm Kirk. I'm playing Agent Crane. Do you have a second to talk? I've done all this homework. I wanted to run it by you." And he looked at me and he goes, "Get up here." I go up into his trailer and I sit down and I lay down what I think our relationship is and all this stuff. He turns to this guy next to him and he goes, "I should hire him instead of you." And it was Stephen Bridgewater, amazing acting coach and also director. I think let's see, he's direct Matt Damon. He's helped as an acting coach. Oh God, I'm seeing his face. I'm spacing on it. Wonderful actors that he had worked with, and that of course started our relationship. And then he hired me a couple of times. He directed some things, and so that's where we started. I just kind of went for it, and we talked shop, and we just took that relationship, and we kept on building on it, and we just used it, and because it was so important to me, and still is, the craft itself and creating something of value. And Robert's very much like that. Later, he and I ended up doing Flags of Our Fathers together, a Clint Eastwood film, and maybe one other thing. I adore him. He's a good man. And anyway, maybe that's too much backstory. But so coming on in terms of the big immensity of it, they moved to LA. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. I still don't. No disrespect to the fandom, but I just want to keep my focus on who the character is, what I'm doing, what's important. And I just loved it. I had such a great time and was just so honored and blessed that they kept inviting me back. It was like a true gift, and like really great people too. So yeah, it was outstanding.
Your opening scene, one of the first scenes where we're introduced to you, where you're sat at the desk, James Pickens Jr., and then Mitch Pileggi and Robert Patrick and yourself. And you talk about earlier about the connection and the timing and how things are going. The way the camera's jumping between you all, but the presence, the rhythm there, you did really just jump in there. Well, that must have been a challenging but rewarding way to jump into a series with those, because they're all 4 of you are very commanding presences, but there's an ease, I guess I'm going to say, as a viewer. It feels like you've been working together for 4 years, even though you just jumped in.
Yeah, no, and I think that was the first scene we shot too.
Oh,
so
really?
Imagine, like, oh my, they're going to start. Okay, but yeah, I think I've tried hard. I've worked with really great people. and I've worked hard. I'm committed to it and still am. I get up every day to perfect what I do. And so I just wanted to bring it and bring my A game. And there's no question that talking with Robert and him opening his door, literally inviting me. I mean, it took courage to knock on his door, trust me. But I just said, if I don't ask, the answer is always no. And I love what I do. And I'm just going to see if this gentleman wants to talk. That made a huge difference. That immediately put me at ease because now I walk on set and he and I are on the same page because we're partners. And so it's like there was an immediate, and I give so much credit to Robert Patrick for doing that. He didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? He was an established name and all this other stuff. And some young kid basically is knocking on his door. He could have just said, go away. And I have had other bigger actors say, go away. So I just, God love him for that, man. That was so important. So thank you. And I would love to give a lot of credit to Robert for that, but also it was Kim Manners. So I had worked with him before, and I just felt like he was in my court, and he got me, and you could see in his eyes that he liked what I was doing. So, and then John saying what he did is just like, okay, let's rock this, So thank you for seeing that. But yeah, it's not about me, man. There's so many things that go into something like that. And it's everybody else that surrounds you and the kind of love you get and care. Like those are like all those actors, James Pickens Jr., these people care. You know what I mean? Like they're good actors. That guy is like out of Chicago, James Pickens Jr. Like he's done theater and he's done sitcoms. He's like done everything. That guy's amazing actor. And so when you're surrounded by those guys and you feel their presence, that helps you too. It's a motivating force for me. It's not intimidating. I mean, on some level it is, of course, but you don't have time to be intimidated, man. I had an interrogation to do and I needed to talk to Skinner and get the facts, so I just keep my focus on that. But definitely team effort, man. And that show is so beautifully shot. So many great elements. Yeah. I can talk a lot. I don't want to bore you guys, but yeah, it's awesome.
Does not bore. No, thank you for your generosity there, sharing all that. No, this is why we love to talk and learn about the process and all of these details. We greatly appreciate this.
And I got to know Mitch more too, by the way. After that scene, we just started talking and we had so many similarities. His father worked in Saudi Arabia as part of I think it was a Ramco. My father worked in Saudi Arabia for Bechtel. So there were so many similarities. We'd hang out and talk at lunch. In other words, these guys didn't have egos. You know what I mean? They were just so down to earth. And maybe part of it was just how I am. I have no ego, man. Like, hey, how's it going? What's up? And like, I want to connect. And so you get surrounded, and then the producers were so nice, and the vibe was just really, really good. But I think all of that has an effect on you as actors. If you sort of quote unquote feel the love in the room, and the makeup department was amazing, the makeup trailer was great, costume was great. There were just a lot of good people, like at the top of their game. So I think all those things add up, and I think that's why the show is so good in part. It's not an accident. That stuff's not an accident.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And even the ethical or the spiritual core of the show, compared to a lot of television, it fronts a lot of philosophy. And it's interesting to hear that it's represented in the creation and the team, that it's not a hollow projection that we're picking up.
Yeah. No, it's deep. In my opinion, I think that's why I was always attracted to it. This isn't fodder stuff, It's not murder and mayhem for murder and mayhem's sake, although, of course, the X-Files had its share of all of. But it's interesting, it's psychological, it's emotional, it's historic, it touches on so many things, not to mention the imagination and creativity and what's possible and what isn't possible. And the whole thing, the truth is out there. Like that's really, really a cool sentiment. Everything from JFK to UFOs to anything that's mysterious. I'm just so attracted to as a human being. I guess I'm very curious. and want to get the truth. And the show just, that's all it was trying to do. So yeah, those guys are smart. Spotnitz and Chris Carter and all these guys are like, they're smart people. They're well read and they're knowledgeable and they're no dummies. It's fun to share this stuff, honestly.
I love it. No, thank you. And a minute ago, you were talking a little bit about homework that you had done when you went to knock on Robert Patrick's trailer. This is one of those questions where it comes to the co-creation sometimes of these things. And since you originally were cast, as you just informed us, for the first 2 episodes, and then they brought you back, how aware were you of where the character was going to go once you knew you were coming back? How involved were you in your character's development, and or what kind of homework did you do to prepare for the role?
It's great. As an overall, I had no idea. Are you kidding me? I was just honored and blessed to be there for 2 episodes. I had no idea where Agent Crane was going to end up careened off the side of a of a post. No way did I see that coming. So that's an interesting thing about a writer, or certainly in my position, and it's still true on the really great show that I'm doing right now, is you don't know until you get the scripts, man. I'm not the creator of these things. I'm an executor. I'm at best a co-creator. But somebody else is writing this. It's my job, our job as actors, to embody it. So I had no clue where Agent Crane was going at all. And so it's just exciting when it happens. You're like, oh gosh, this is amazing. And they invite you back. Like it's such a blessing as an actor. So, I'm not one of the leads of that show. And so I'm not having a say in where I go and what I do. It's not my show. That's the show is run. And that's why they call them show runners, because it's not even the studio. It is that creative team of those producers and those writers. They're the ones that are creating the universe, and then they surround themselves with excellent actors, excellent special effects, excellent makeup, excellent costume, and they're smart about all those things, and it all comes together. So in that regard, it's I don't know as an overall. So that's hopefully I answered the question there. In terms of homework, yeah, in short, I have to know personally 90% of what you do as an actor is defining what and why. What am I saying and why? In other words, what does it mean to Kirk Waller? What does it mean to me? Why am I interrogating Skinner? What's at stake? Who am I? Where did I come from? How did I get in this position to be interrogating him? You as an actor, your job is to take black ink on a white piece of paper and bring it to life. And I think at best, the craft of acting is the revelation of soul. Therefore, I have to take everything I say, everything I do, and make it understandable to me. And there are techniques to help you that. Your imagination, understanding what a certain scene is, and if you had something like that happen in life, and it's rather complex but very simple at the same time. That's homework. Is I come and I'm going to go be myself, Kirk Waller, under imaginary circumstances. I have to earn the right to be myself under imaginary circumstances. So the real question is, what would I do if I were in this situation? And then the job is to fill in all that stuff that's not really your life and make it your life. Not in some kind of weird methody psycho way, but in a way that's palatable and acceptable to you. It has nothing to do with the method. It just has to do with making it personal. And then believing it. Because if I don't believe it, you're not going to believe it. So another tenet of the X-Files is, belief. And so as an actor, you have to believe these circumstances while that camera is rolling. And so that's what I mean by homework. It's basically make everything mean something to you. Have an opinion about everything. Make it personal so that you're not acting, if that makes sense. No acting, man. Being. It's about being a human being in a situation. Does that answer the question?
Makes perfect sense. And you answered them perfectly well. One other caveat I want to touch on is talking about that co-creation aspect, which is so tricky for the character and often with the show that deals with skepticism about nature of the intention and the nature of the character. And I'm assuming, again, as a layperson, how much the actor, you want to bring that belief and that truth if you don't know the writer's intention, in the sense of what is the character, where's the character going to end up based on, am I acting in good faith or not? And if they don't know and you present that, what's interesting is the fact that you don't have that information and you're operating simply based on the script at the moment you see, that it seems to me that then, especially when they bring you back, it is the truth that you are bringing to it that is shaping the character, because it's going to influence then with the writers how they're going to take where you're going to go is based on your performance and not just what's written on the page. And so that's got to be a really interesting thing to be able to steer the ship of the character then in a way a little bit, at least paddle a little bit here or there.
Yeah, a little. I think what a good actor does is they believe the imaginary circumstances. Look, here's what gets hired, in my opinion: your personality, your temperament, how you see the world, how you talk, the shape of your eyes, your hair, your voice, just how you are as a human being. That's what essentially gets hired. You're not trying to become somebody else. You're trying to be yourself under imaginary circumstances. And that unique self, there's an authenticity to that. And then, yeah, I mean, I suppose I did those first 2 episodes. I just went for it. And just the way I went about doing what I did, I guess on some level was inspiring enough or motivating, whatever the right word is, to make them want that to continue. But it's your essence, Russ, that would get hired as an actor, how you are, how your mannerisms, all of that. So I suppose it's a co-creation, like I said, at best. But I'm just trying, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Writer, now you're telling me this, okay. And I just go about making that believable for myself. I'll take anything you throw at me and make it make sense for me. And I'm not a writer. So you guys and girls do that with that what you want. And I'll keep on embodying that to the best of my ability. I mentioned briefly the show that I'm doing now is very much that way too. I just take what I'm given and bring it to life for myself. But I ain't steering the ship, trust me. But yeah, they see it and they go, oh, okay, well, he's doing it kind of this way. Now let's do this with it. So yeah, after seeing it, then potentially, you can do something with it. But you got to bring your heart, man, because nothing's going to be there if you don't bring yourself to the role, because then you're acting, and acting is lying. And so you got to bring your authentic self. That's what bad acting is for everybody. What is a bad actor? Here's what a bad actor does. They decide in advance what they're going to do before they get to set, and then they go to set and they regurgitate that. So it's an idea. Oh, the character's going to walk like this and talk like this and do. It's all these decisions, but it has nothing to do with the truth. So the reason they're a bad actor is because we can tell they're lying. You know what I mean? Human beings know when somebody's telling the truth. That's what makes them bad, is because they don't believe it. That actor does not believe what they're saying. I can tell they're full of it. Good actor, you get involved. If you're good, when you're a good actor, Russ, if you feel, I'm going to feel. If you think, I'm going to think. Because I believe you. So really an actor's job is to believe. And that's what sort of sets it to sail. But yeah, you just have to fill in all the great stuff the writer gives you. Hope that answers the question.
Oh, it does. No, thank you. Again, yeah, it's also really helpful just to hear more about the philosophy and the craft.
This is excellent.
And these come from my mentors. I had 2 big ones. It was Sanford Meisner and another guy named Alan Vint. Although Alan was never quote unquote famous, he did a lot of films, but he was such a genius. And he really taught me a lot about, what it means, not necessarily to be present. He basically gave me permission to think on camera. Because Sandy, it was all emotion. How do you feel? Behavior, behavior, behavior. Live in the moment, live in the moment. But Alan came on as a guest director at the Sanford Meisner Center for the Arts that I helped build with Sandy. And yeah, he was amazing. So this craft that I'm yapping about here, those I made my own contribution sort of to those two geniuses. But yeah, I'm standing on the legs of these guys and their insight. Uh, and I'm just doing the best of my ability to bring that to life and now pass it on to others too. But it's definitely a craft, man. Look, it's no accident. I got to say, anybody out there that wants to be an actor, train, 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 train. Robert Patrick trained all these good actors. James Pickett Jr., like he was theater in Chicago. These guys are well-trained actors. They're not just flashes in the pan. This is a craft. You don't become a brain surgeon overnight. You don't become a master concert pianist overnight or a painter or anything else. But what's confusing about the craft of acting is a good actor makes it look simple. Oh yeah, they're just talking. Oh yeah, they're just getting mad. Yeah, try doing that in front of 300 people with a microphone in your face and I don't know, bad weather or whatever's happening. It's not as easy as it looks. So please train well, and really care about what you do. It's not about becoming famous, I'll tell you that. That's not what it's about. It's about being good at what you do. Be the best.
And a lot of work.
Yeah, of course it is. And
Yeah.
smart too, train with good people and be smart about it. But yeah. So thanks for letting me go off on the craft of acting. It's so important and so misunderstood, especially this day and age where we have I have a lot of friends doing reality TV as directors and producers. I have no shame there at all. However, some of the people on these shows, they, they make it look like anybody can be a celebrity, but it's not about celebrity. It's about a craft. This is an art form, man, at its best, in my opinion.
Just to tie back what you said earlier, I mean, it just echoes in the idea of when you're working with an ensemble who are also working in it as a craft, treating it as a craft, and being generous and responding like you made the analogy to music, like a concert pianist, and working in an orchestra. Like that scene with you're working with James Pickett Jr. and Robert Patrick playing off each other is going to be much more, I'm assuming, much more fulfilling if you're working in that space. So yeah.
When you have egos, that's when everything goes to blank.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is like when an ego walks on the set, it's an issue. It's a problem because what you're really trying to do is have a real life under an imaginary circumstance. So the more you can look another actor in the eye and they're telling the truth and you're telling the truth and you're really asking a question, because one of the tenets of acting, the foundation of acting is the reality of doing, right? One of the things I learned from Sanford Meisner. So if you're asking a question, you ask a question. You're not acting like you're asking a question. I'm looking Skinner in the eye and I'm asking him a question to get an answer. And now I'm going to wait for that answer. Okay, now he says that. Now I'm going to ask him another question. It's not fake. So the more, I said it earlier, it's humble, humility, egoless. These are the things that make a great actors. And all the great actors, the ones that I respect the most, they're all like that. There's no ego. They're like there for the work. And then there are those actors who are not. It's about them as a person. And I've had my share of those, but I love guys and girls that really care because it's fun. It's great. Nothing beats it. Nothing beats it.
Excellent. I know this is a kind of a cheesier question, but I've got to ask it because you also talked about your background in professional sports and the physicality. You took dance classes, and then you're introduced to the show. You're working with Robert Patrick, who was a Terminator, and then your character gets reinvented over the season, and you go out with a very physically intensive stunt scene. And it had to have been, I'm assuming, a quite enjoyable or perhaps exhausting, or I'm not sure, scene to shoot. Do you have any fun stories from the mayhem that was your finale?
Yeah. Oh, man, it was awesome. I'll start with this. They had to make 7 of me, okay? Because that careen shot off the post is not me, right? It's it's a dummy. So I went to Matthew Mungle. Pretty sure I got that name right. He has made a mask of all the biggest names in the business. I mean, I'm looking up there. I don't think he did it, but I'm seeing W.C. Fields, Robert De Niro, like where they basically cover you in goop and they make a mask of your face. It's intense. So they got all this goop, they put it all over your face. They give you two little straws so you can breathe. You got to keep your mouth closed, and then you got to sit there for a certain amount of time. And they're literally making a mold of your face. And so I'll never forget going on set. I was in my wardrobe. I think I have a picture of it too. I was in costume. Maybe it wasn't seven. Well, I think it was seven, but anyway, I'm in costume and I round this corner. We're headed to set, and there were seven of me, or five or six, or whatever it was, in the same outfit, like kind of leaning against the wall. Oh, it was so surreal. And I had to take a picture of me sitting there with all these faces. That was mine. So that was a trip. And what an honor to have that experience. And then, yeah, that was really fun to film with Robert, of course. We shot that in the parking lot at the Fox parking lot. And yeah, they built this rig so that I could hang off the side. And then I remember thinking it was sort of my idea. I wanted to pop up or whatever it is. I just came into frame. There's this visual I had in my own head. So I don't know, I did something so I could just, or maybe I shot out this way. Maybe that's what I did. But I thought that would be a really cool way to like come in, because you think they ran me over or whatever, but they really didn't. So yeah, we shot that. We just kept on, and it's trust too, because for some of those shots we were driving towards a post, and so then they would stop in time. But I'm just going for it. It's like you got to trust all these stunt drivers and all these great people that you're working with. And so yeah, we shot that a lot enough, smashing the window, and then I said to Robert, "Do you mind if I just like try to choke you out?" He's like, "Yeah, you go for it." So we kind of figured out how to play that, and of course, Kim directed those last two episodes as well. And so you just kind of work together, and you come up with that. How about this, Kim? And oh, that's awesome. And same thing with Robert, and you just kind of come up with that sequence. But then, yeah, eventually, then they put the dummy on the outside, and then I stayed for that because that was later. But I just had to see myself basically get decapitated, which was very unnerving to kind of see yourself just careen off of a parking lot pole. But yeah, it was fun. Such a blessing to be there as well. Let's see. Yeah, I guess that's really what flashes back the most. And above all that, it was just great fun, and such an honor, to be a part of all that.
Wish they would have let you keep one of. There were seven of them. If they could let you keep one, that would have been nice. A nice souvenir to have.
Costume department let me keep the suit, though.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm probably getting somebody in trouble right now. I can't remember their name right now, but yeah, they gave me one of the suits. But yeah, no, that would have been cool, I guess. I didn't want to ask. That would have been, I think, too inappropriate to ask. Can I keep one of my faces?
It's your face. Come on. Oh, I will.
Maybe they're somewhere. I don't know. Maybe they threw them away. I'm sure they're somewhere. That would be a trip, actually.
I will direct people to your Instagram, because I did see a photo of you with one of them. I didn't see all of them, but there is a photo on there.
Yeah, you're right. We did post that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that was one of the things. Yeah, I got this. I think I have this other. I'd have to dig it out somewhere of me surrounded by me. Very trippy, but fun.
So some of the things that have been brought up here, and this may or may not go anywhere, but just kind of curious, talking about your interest in the X-Files growing up in the Northwest with mysteries, with genre and things like that. And then you've done a lot, so I don't want to make an assumption or a generalization. You've done a lot of television and movie work across all types and genres, but you also, with the film you directed being horror and doing a lot of popular genre stuff like the X-Files, Sliders, Briscoe County, do you have, particularly with the thing you directed, do you have a particular interest in working in a specific genre? And is there something related to that, or even just consuming media in that genre, if that makes sense? Is this something that led you to make a horror film, for example? Is there something about that that spoke to you?
No, to be completely transparent, I had no interest in horror, and I don't particularly like horror myself. What happened is these director, writer, producer team hired me for this film called, oh gosh, it was called a popumentary, VH1 popumentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger's life. And you don't know until the very end, but I basically play Schwarzenegger's ego, alter ego. You're talking to him. My character was Entree. And I think if you spell something back, Arnold Schwarzenegger, something backwards, it spells Arnold. But you don't know it until the very end. It's just like his conscience. So he's always motivating him and telling him, don't do that, do this. Those guys, when COVID, not COVID, 2018, there was a writer strike, the economy tanked, it was just a disaster. These guys called me, we stayed in contact, and they said, hey, we're going to make horror films. We think you'd be really good helping us to produce them. And I was like, what? I don't know anything about producing. And they know, we think you'd be great. So that's where it started. So we formed about 8 guys. I was one of them, and we just went out, and these were the guys that were the writers, creators. And then they encouraged me to do one. I have no idea how to do this. So I just sort of decided something that sort of made sense to me. But these guys were the creators, and I just did a lot of the SAG paperwork. It taught me a lot about being a producer and what it means. So yeah, no, horror is not my thing at all. Sorry for anybody out there. It's
no apology.
I don't know. And then on top of that, I'm going to be hated for this for sure. I don't watch that much. Really, of course I do, but not a whole lot. But I've already talked about watching the X-Files. There are certain things I will, but as I've grown older, I watch less and less, and I just watch more documentaries. And here's the reason: I want to see the real deal. I want to see the real lawyer. I want to see the real cop, the real detective, the real scientist, the real sociopath. Like that interview with Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know if that's just intense. So to see the real thing is very, very interesting to me as an actor. And I don't want to be, I don't want to have other things in my head. I just want to bring my humanity to it. So yeah, I'm not a big consumer. Sorry, everybody. I'm just not a huge consumer of stuff. I like keeping myself busy. I love being with my family um, and teaching others and working as an actor, mentoring others and working as an actor myself. I don't know. I don't have a lot of time to sort of do that, honestly. But I'm grateful because I wouldn't have a job if everyone was like me. I wouldn't even have a job. So yeah, I'm not a huge consumer. So yeah, that's how the horror films came about. Those guys asked me to, and then encouraged me to do one. But yeah, I'm open to any and all genres, really. There's nothing. I just want to do good work, man. I don't care. In the future, in the past, today, wherever. I just want to do a good job. That's really what my focus is.
That's great. That's exactly the kind of answer that's was hoping to get at. So I really appreciate your honesty and no judgments. But yeah, and the documentary, that is fascinating. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I love watching the real thing, man. It's so interesting because what happens as an actor is, like I said earlier, you get ideas of what you think a character should look and sound like. All you got to do is watch. My son's a budding physicist, like actually really good. He's 16, but he will be a physicist. And so we're constantly watching documentaries on these different scientists. These guys are nothing like you would think a scientist to be. Nothing. They're fun. They're funny. They're irreverent. They're charming. They're silly. They're simple. They're beautiful men and beautiful women, beautiful men. And then it's not the geeky scientist that you think. Scientist comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And that's the thing. I'm not going to play a scientist. I'm going to play myself as a scientist. So it's always a great reminder to just see all these colors from all these different jobs. What is a real cop? How do they really interrogate somebody? When you really interrogate somebody, you're trying to be friends with the person so that they trust you, so they'll tell you the truth. They don't come in and slap them around. That's just not how it works in the real world. So you can't do the scene where you think you're some tough guy interrogating somebody because that's not the truth. So I want to know what the truth is of an interrogation or of a scientist or whatever situation. I want to see the real deal doing what they do, and then I want to bring that truth to anything I'm fortunate enough to embody as an actor. And then it's real, I think.
Yeah, it's going to make for much more interesting and compelling media and art. I really appreciate your time. Before we go, I would love to know, is there any projects that are coming up that you can share anything about with our listeners? Anything that's been of particular interest or?
Oh, yeah. Look, there's two things I definitely want to mention. The first is the series that I'm doing now, and it's called The Chosen. The Chosen, two words. And it is the first, and I couldn't believe it, first multi-episode series about the life of Christ. Like, what? There hasn't been a multi-episode series about the life of Christ? Anyway, we're filming season 5 now. There's watch it for free. There's The Chosen. It's just The Chosen app. It's free. Seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 are on the app, but it's also on the CW, Apple, Netflix, Hulu. It's just exploded. I think it almost has 1 billion views, believe it or not. And so what's great about the series is it's not what you think. They've taken down the stained glass windows and these old farts and beards and all these untouchable, unrealistic things and brought it all down to earth. And so it's an extraordinary series. You don't have to be religious to watch it. It's beautifully shot. Akis is our DP. Dallas Jenkins, who I've been working with and being friends with for over 25 years, is the creator of the show. I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. Just watch an episode. In fact, it's become so successful. I think we're the first TV series that it premieres in the movie theater. So season 3 episodes, it's 8 episodes a season. 1 and 2 and 7 and 8 were in the movie theaters. This past season, season 4, all of the episodes, and I think all those episodes brought in like about a month, like 40 million for a show about Jesus. You got to be kidding me. And so it's absolutely phenomenal. And I play one of the few quote unquote white dudes on the show. I'm a Roman centurion. And it's great. It's beautifully cast. Everybody, it's very authentic. And again, it's really beautifully shot. Of course, it takes place in the first century. So that's one thing I'd love to mention. The Chosen, watch it for free. It's really it's not what you would expect. I just give it a go. Check it out. I think you'll dig it. And the next thing is another project that I did with the same director. It's called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. And we're hoping it's going to be a classic. That's going to be out November 1st. And it's based on a book called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. And so the Herdman kids, the beginning of the book, I said the Herdman kids are the worst kids in the history of the universe or something. So you just take these ragtag team of 5 kids that they're just horrible. And they come upon a church because there's like free stuff that their parents work and they're never home. So they're kind of raising themselves. And they come upon a church. I play the reverend of that church, and they kind of take over our play, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, which is about Jesus and Mary and Joseph and all that night. And they hijack it basically. And then it's just so touching because you're reminded of what that story is really about. And it's so beautiful. So it's going to be like Home Alone meets A Wonderful Life. And Dallas decided Wes Anderson, he shot everything very linear like Wes Anderson does. So there's a lot of cool influences, but I don't know. Check out that one. So The Chosen and The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. I think you'll enjoy both.
Fantastic. And congratulations on 5 seasons on The Chosen, too.
Yeah, we're supposed to go 7. Yeah. Oh, one other thing. This started crowdfunded. This is the largest crowdfunded film project of all time. They raised $10 million to make the first 4 episodes from people like you and me. 10 million. I'm going to say that again. 10 million. Look it up. The largest crowd-funded film of all time. for crowdfunding. $10 million. So people were hungry for some good content, something that the family could watch, something that has some good values in it. Jesus' story is pretty amazing. I think we all know that putting other people's needs ahead of our own, that's a good thing. Being forgiving, that's a good thing too, and like forgiveness and the values and tenets of Jesus. I don't care what nationality, color, creed, religion you are, it's good. And that's what the show really centers around. But it's human, very, very human. All the apostles are much younger. One has autism, it's on the spectrum. I mean, it's just really phenomenal. So thanks for indulging me. I hope you guys go check that stuff out. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah, and yeah, it's good.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much for that. And as the final thing, and I know you mentioned at the beginning, but just to reiterate, where can folks go to learn more about what you're working on and about the acting classes and your other projects?
Actorclass.com. Actor, ACTOR, and then class, KLASS.com. Actorclass.com, or so pretentious, I'm going to have time for that story. The Woller technique, is really my mentors, but wrapped in with something I came up with anyway. The Woller, WOLLER, technique.com. That's more about my background, who I've worked with, how I approach the craft. So those two things. And then Actor Class is really about the once a month group mentorship thing. And that's the thing that's $15. And like really phenomenal people. I just had my A-list business manager last Saturday. What is today? Monday? Yeah, so Saturday. So once a month I have some exquisite writers, directors, actors. I mean, just go there and you'll see some of the people that have come. As $15. I think it's priceless to talk to somebody that's working as a writer, as a director, and like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? My manager was like getting into people's actors access accounts and like, that I would change this picture. I would do this, like real time advice. It was amazing. And then The Chosen, it's an app. It's a free app. But I mean, just type in The Chosen on Netflix. You'll find it. CW, I mean, it's everywhere. Just type in The Chosen, you'll be shocked how much stuff comes up. And then the best Christmas pageant ever is a Lionsgate release. And I think, I don't know, there must be an official website. I don't know that there's official. It's all on Instagram. And then I guess the only other thing is I started doing it. I've never done any of the social media stuff, forgive me, but I started doing it when we started The Chosen and also when I started Actor Class and the Woller technique because I've, my business people recommended I do it. So anyway, you can always follow me there. It's at Kirk B R Woller on Instagram and the same thing on Facebook. I just make posts mostly about other people, not about myself. I know nobody gives a crap about what I had for dinner. I certainly don't. So it's really I'm trying to find my voice, and I think that it's better to talk about really others in the context of something maybe that I was involved with. So you can always, I guess, follow me there, and I make posts about the show. You'll see a lot of stuff about that Chosen show on there, and that's some more personal stuff. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys. I'm not good at this self-promotion stuff, but if you want to check those things out, please do. And anybody out there that's seriously considering the craft of acting, doesn't have to be me, man. Just vet these people. Go on IMDb, see if they've done anything. I can't tell you how many people took one class and are an expert in whatever small or big town you're in. Vet these people. Make sure they're the real deal. I've been manipulated many times in my career, and vet people, ask questions, look on IMDb. Don't get taken because there's a lot of thieves out there that want to take advantage of your dreams. Don't let that happen, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, your frankness, your generosity with all of this. And as a final note, I did check the Best Christmas Pageant Ever .movie website is posted. The trailer's up, so folks can go check it out.
Yeah, I'm playing the Reverend. I think I'm in that trailer a couple of times. It's really fun. It's really, really great. I think it's going to be a wonderful movie. What's the quick story is Dallas has been trying to Dallas Jenkins, the creator and writer of The Chosen, and also the director of and co-writer or adaptation to the book of The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, has been trying to get the rights to do that film for 15 years. And it was tied up at like Universal. It was tied up with these other people. He's been trying for 15 years to get the rights. And it finally happened. And we filmed it up in Winnipeg, Canada, Manitoba, this last Christmas. And yeah, so it's like a labor of love, man. So he knows that story well, and it's touched his life and his kids and his wife so deeply. So it's a really great, for those of you out there, like it took him 15 years, man. So if you're a filmmaker or anything creative, I mean, this stuff takes time. So it's just, it's the least unlikely that rejuvenates everybody's idea of what Christmas really means. So it's a great message, man. It's just a good message, and it'll be a great Christmas film, and I think people will love it for a long time. Yeah, November 1st.
November 8th.
No, 8th? Oh, I'm sorry. See?
No, don't need to apologize. I have it up in front of me. I'm cheating.
Yeah. 8th. Okay, I got to lock that in the brain. November 8th. Yeah, they're doing a lot of advertising for it already, which is great. Awesome. Blessed to be a part of it.
Definitely. Well, again, thank you so much for all of the time, and congratulations on all of these projects. And everybody, please go to the website, check them out. The Instagram has also got a lot of fun stuff. And again, even if you're not sure if you're interested in, if you're not a practicing actor, I recommend checking out the Woller Technique and actorclass.com websites, because there's a lot of interesting content on there too. And maybe a friend of yours might be doing the work and you can recommend that to them as well. There's a lot of fun stuff.
Let me interject too. In that monthly mentorship, you don't have to be an actor. We have novelists in there, and they are honing their craft on developing characters as a novelist, not as a screenwriter. So it's relatable to life and so many other genres. You don't have to be an actor to be there. Many are not. So yeah, I mean, I really think at least check out one. It'd be cool. I'm going to have some casting directors next, and that's always interesting, I think, to hear about. But anyway, thank you.
So thanks for adding that. We have some novelists in either the X-Cast crew or the listeners. So that's thank you.
No, it's priceless. We have two novelists actually, and both of them says, man, it's completely. One is pretty prolific. I think she's written 75 novels, USA bestseller or something. Valerie Hansen is her name. And yeah, she says that her ability to create a character has increased dramatically as a result of hearing actors talk about their process of how they connect to what's written. And so she flushes them out much better, and she's enjoying her writing more than ever. So I think it's a pretty cool value. It's awesome. And I think it's great that people other than actors are learning. I just genuinely, this is going to sound so cliche. I just want people to succeed, like make good content. I just want good content out there in the world, not cheesy crap, like good content. You got to work at that stuff, man. People don't get it. We live in an age where now, me. You got to work your butt off, man. Yeah, it's again, it's sound cliche, but cliches are true. It's like a family. It's a collective group. And they're good people. This isn't a bunch of ego-based people. That's not the people I bring. That's not how I am. So it's about, hey, let's all learn something. Let's be collaborative about this. I just love the arts. I truly do. I think as a culture, we'd be lost without it.
Definitely.
So I adore anybody who gets up and spends part of their day creating or trying to co-create. I mean, that's man, we need it. I think it's the world's therapist. A good movie. I've learned so much from movies. Good movies, how to handle myself in certain situations, all about that life, about that culture. I mean, it's the power of cinema is unbelievable to shape lives when done well, shape them negatively or shape them positively, right? So I just want good stuff out there, try to shape things in a way that we can all live in a world that's maybe a little bit better.
Perfect way to end things. It's an empathy engine. It is so invaluable these days. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So thank you so much for having me. It's really been a blessing to be here, and I wish you all the success in the world.
So thanks again to Mr. Woller for his generosity of time and stories and anecdotes and all the rest. I really encourage you all to check out his websites and including his Instagram and catch up on his other projects. And until next time, trust no one.
The X-Cast, an X-Files podcast, was created by Tony Black and is produced and hosted by Sarah Blair, Kurt North, and Carl Sweeney.
You can find the podcast across social media via Linktree/The Xcast. That's linktr.ee/The Xcast. And join our Facebook group, The X-Files Basement, the Xcast podcast fan group.
Don't forget, you can support the show by becoming a member on Patreon. Our patrons get early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes chats with our hosts, and our thriving community of X-Files, and other premium interviews and specials. To find out more and subscribe, you can go to patreon.com/The Xcast. That's patreon.com/The Xcast.
We are also part of the Film Stories podcast network, full of popular culture shows about film, television, and beyond, including our Millennium series, The Time Is Now, a Millennium podcast. You can find all of our shows at www.filmstories.co.uk, alongside an array of great writing on film, television, gaming, and more.
Thanks for listening, and remember, deny everything.